Hey everybody, Dakota Walker here, and I am risking everything to do this video. So the tide's coming in. I'm in La Jolla, California, and the tide is coming in. So I don't know if you know anything about tides, but I'm actually kind of positioned. See this sea cave? It's kind of cool. And then there's the ocean. I'll give you a full spectrum view here. So yeah, I could be on that nice sandy beach right there, but I am choosing to risk it all by being on, I'll give you a shot of the ocean. Anyway, tide's coming in, so if I abruptly leave and come back, you know why. Hopefully I won't come back all wet. But so this is the third video in our three-part series of the medicine wheel, the blueprint of the medicine wheel, and how we can take that energy of this ancient tool and use it for a modern day living and healing experience. And I've got to reposition myself here. I'm kind of in an odd place. So in the first video, we went through the directions of the medicine wheel. We talked a lot about what those different energies feel like and how each direction has its own kind of flavor, how it plays into our sacred purpose, how we view it in terms of year, life, day, etc. And then in the last video, I shared with you a lot about the soul archetypes and what that looks like when they're deficient or in excess energy or when they're balanced. And hopefully all of you had a chance to take the soul archetype test and you know what your percentages are for each direction. You kind of know what your dominant soul archetype is. And I hope you also have been getting the PDFs for how each of the soul archetypes show up. And today, what I want to talk to you about is how do we live an authentic life and how do we really use the medicine wheel as a stepping point or a container for living a authentic and full-on life and full of vibrancy and full of life and flavor and etc. How do you go from just having a meal to having an orgasmic taco? And if you didn't watch my last video, that will make no sense to you whatsoever. But if you did watch the last video, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So here's the thing that I want to do. First, just a really quick reintroduction of who I am. I am Dakota Walker, and I have been teaching this work for a really long time and love what I do. I am so passionate about what I do. It's just really crazy. And this last year, I actually hit a couple of milestones. On YouTube, I hit the 1 million view mark, and I'm already actually close to, I'll hit 2 million views by the end of this year. I'm pretty certain of it. And we've gotten a lot more subscribers. We've got our Facebook private group that's going on. It's kind of like it's a way to experience what I do in a lighter kind of version and give you kind of exercises to do in your own everyday life. And we work as a community in that Facebook group. And then I've got the website where we have the mentorship and we do online classes and things like that. This next year we're actually getting ready to do a pilgrimage to Scotland and Ireland. I'm working on writing a book right now. And right now I'm in the middle of a epic year-long journey of traveling around the United States and possibly the world to show people how to really kind of live in that authentic space, how to see every moment as a way of reflection in the medicine wheel, and how you can read messages even in the height of Mardi Gras in New Orleans. I was relaying how I was experiencing the messages of my guides there. So I've got a lot of things going on. I would love for you to join any one of these things to continue your journey with me in some way. And yeah, so that's me. And the work that I do is really, you know, if I were to sum it all up into a very short, succinct sentence, which I seem to have a hard time doing sometimes, it would be that I teach people how to, actually, let me rephrase that. I don't teach you. I help you to remember how powerful you are. I help you to become so acutely aware that you have no doubt about your significance in this world. I give you the space to tap into that deep inner wisdom within you that has been dormant for many, many, many years. And that, I feel like, is the most profound role that I can play in anybody's life, but also in this world where so often we are stripped of our power, or we have been taught to give our power away to all kinds of things, you know, whether it be to addictions or to people or to circumstances or to fears, whatever it might be, that we give our power away to that. I'm going to step over this way so that I can actually watch if I am about to get nailed by a wave. So, yeah, they're getting close. All right, so living an authentic life. First, we have to understand, what does that actually really look like? And sometimes for many people, that is such a foreign concept. It can compute up here, but to viscerally live it is a very different thing. And so if I were to ask, 10 people, what does living authentically mean to you? I probably would have 10 different answers. And because authenticity is not that it's different for each person, but how it's expressed for each person is different. So for me, living an authentic life means that I am truthful, and I have a balanced medicine wheel, where that means that I've worked on each of the directions so that I can become more acutely aware of how they're playing out in my life, and when I kind of dip up or dip down into a different direction and what I need to pull in and push out, and etc. It becomes this dance with the wheel. And so living authentically, for me, what that looks like is that you are contributing to the world in a way that makes you feel good, that feels like it's aligned with your soul purpose, that it brings you deep satisfaction. It's what pulls you out of bed in the morning. It excites you. It's where you lose time. And when you're in that realm of working and doing your contribution to the world, whether it's your job or it's charity or you're a mother, whatever it might be, or a father, whatever you feel that is your true soul calling, and you have lost yourself in it, and it takes no energy. I mean, it takes energy, but it's an energy that it keeps refueling itself. That's part of authentic living. That's part of really being in that place of saying, this is really what I came here to do. Authentic living also looks a lot like having relationships that are very sacred and dear, where you can be with somebody and be in that space with them and love them completely and unconditionally without having to judge them, fix them, have them be any different than what they are, and you the same, where you don't feel like you have to be a different person for this person or be a different person for that person. That you are across the board, you are just who you are. And in that place of having those kind of relationships, you start building out this sacred trust, this beautiful connection with your fellow humans or your animal friends or earth or spirit. And these relationships become kind of lifelines to being able to reflect back to you those deeper parts of yourself. Every person that we come in contact with is usually a mirror for us. They're showing us a part of ourselves that either maybe we need to embrace more of, or that we need to work through. That's a lot of the shadow work that we do when we get into the West direction. The authentic life also looks like being able to really listen to your intuition, really feel what that inner voice is telling you, and trusting it. Being able to know that you've got this tie-in to your guides, or to getting messages, or communicating with spirit in such a way that you're able to really tap in and, one, find your own answers, but also kind of assess the situation from that deeper place. It also means that you take that information and then you combine it with your mental body, and you're able to really, logistically be able to see what it is that you may need to do, or what that message might mean for you, or et cetera, et cetera. There's a big, big wave coming towards me right now. Oh, watch this. I love watching them kaboom. Living an authentic life also means that you're not so caught up in the world around, like so caught up in the outcome of something, that you can actually just pan over and watch a wave come in the middle of your video, just because that's so cool. And I love, for me, living authentically, if I am to love this job that I do, and I don't like calling it a job, but if I am to really fully immerse myself into my work and love what I do, but deny that, that's not living authentically. I get really excited when I see something like a big wave, or in the last video I saw the hawk with the fish and the sea lions and all that. I get really excited about that kind of stuff, and that's part of authentic living also, is being really excited about being here and experiencing with all of your senses this world around us that is so beautiful and so majestic and so powerful and so creative and diverse, and really being able to appreciate humanity for the same reasons. We are all different and diverse, and there's so many different layers and intricacies to each of us, and so being able to really step back from that place of ego that needs to judge or slap a label on somebody or put them into this little box that you understand them better. But it's just about being able to step back from all of that and say, you know what, we're all human. We are all human, period. And this is our experience, and each person has a unique experience that is unique to them and them alone. And when you can drop those kind of like layers and those different things that we tend to lean into when we have a low self-esteem or low self-worth, when we can really begin looking at humanity and the world around us in that more whole global aspect, then we do live more authentically, and we appreciate the experiences that we have a lot more. It's just like a very tangible experience. Living authentically also means that in our West direction, that we have a healthy body. We care about this vessel that we are living in, that we're borrowing for this lifetime. I call it the body bag. We tend to care a lot more about the earth and what we do to it. And so, you pick up the trash, you take care of what your part is or could be in taking care of the earth. And also just being able to be appreciative of what we do have, and not wasteful. And then when we look at the north direction, that authentic life is where your spirituality is deeply personal to you, and you live it by being it. You don't have to preach it, you don't have to convert anybody, you don't have to do anything other than focus on your own soul path, your own spiritual path, which is so deeply private, and yet it is extended outward and displayed in every action, every word, every relationship. Everything that you do is a reflection of your spiritual beliefs. And yet those spiritual beliefs are, or should be, deeply personal to you. That is your unique soul print that you have with God, universe, great mystery, whatever you want to call it. So that's kind of like a big, broad spectrum view of looking at how we live authentically. The truth is, and I think many of you will relate, is that for some of you watching this, you're in an abusive relationship where you don't feel loved, you don't feel connected to your partner. Maybe there's emotional abuse, physical abuse, or maybe there's just neglect. Maybe there is just such a lack of connection that you don't talk. You don't have these deeper conversations with them. It's more mundane, more surface. And maybe it just, it doesn't have that pizzazz. You just don't have that commonality, or there's friction, or you have to walk on eggshells, and there's Some of you who have estranged relationships with your family. Maybe they are not as open and accepting, or maybe they are still abusive, or maybe they want to kind of make sure that they plan your life and that they have their fingers in everything that you do, and they feel a little bit more overprotective, or they don't think that you have what it takes to do what you want to do. For some of you, you abuse yourself and you drink, or you are addicted to drugs, or you're addicted to watching TV, or you're numbed out. You just don't feel like there's any color in life anymore. Your job zaps you, and you come home and you're tired. And because you're tired, you end up making something very quick, or a microwave meal, or you order out food, and you're not really caring about what goes into your body. You sit down on the couch and you flip on the TV, or you grab a book, or you grab a magazine, or you grab your phone, and you just start trying to reach out to somebody. So you're scrolling through Facebook, or you're texting somebody. You're looking for that connection. And even though it might be there just tangibly a little bit, it's just not what you're looking for. You want to feel loved. You want to feel connected. But you're so tired. And you're exhausted from the world beating you up, the job that you're not happy with, the relationship that's not connected. You're living, no offense to Kansas, I've never really even been there, I'm just using this as an example. You live in Kansas, but you want to live in La Jolla. There's just a number of things that over time it just keeps beating us down and down and down and down. And after a while, it's hard to even imagine everything I mentioned in the first part of this video. That's a really far out vision for a lot of people. They don't have that energy that it takes to even imagine it, not alone imagine them living that, being that. And yet there's still this yearning to have a life that means something, to be able to leave this world knowing I did my best. I lived fully. I was everything I could be, and more. I mean, how many of us want to have that read at our eulogy, at our funeral, is that, not a person I could know more than you who lived full on. You never had to guess who this person was, that they were so authentic and so real and so in love with life. That's what I want people to read about me when I die. I want them to remember that I risked my life at high tide on the rocks because I loved my work so much, and I wanted to have a beautiful setting for my peeps. I want them to remember those kind of moments that I just wanted to experience it all and did, that I didn't have that fear or that whatever that kept me back. And so that brings me to the next thing. What does keep us from this life that so many people have to this life that so many people want? What is right here in this gap? And that gap is full of fears and low self-esteem, low self-worth. There's that lack of abundance, not knowing how, not knowing, how do I leave a job when I've got 3 kids and a mortgage and I'm a stay-at-home mom or a single mom, and how do I do all of that? How? There's a lot of things that can get filled up into that gap. And so what we try to do in the mentorship anyway is we work on that gap. And we assess where you are. How did you get here? How did you get to this place? Because those things are in this gap. And that's where we need to really work through and regain our power back from that. We take soul retrieval very seriously in very different ways. Whether it's doing an actual soul retrieval or we're actually gaining our power back from that space. But so we work on this gap. And we start recognizing that, Okay, my close relationships, I don't let people get close to me because my father left us when we were kids. My father died, or whatever. And you start tracing back, what was the original wound that created that space right here? And then we begin healing that original wound. And then we start healing the little gashes that happened along the way. I liken the emotions to Jenga, where you can have an emotional event happen in your life, and if you didn't actually go through the emotion and utilize that emotional intelligence, what happens is that it gets sticky and it sits there. So let's say you got angry, really angry at age 6, like maybe your teacher spanked you or something and it really made you angry. And then you never really fully process that because as kids we're not taught how to process emotions. And then the next time you got angry was maybe when you were 13, and because you never processed this one, the anger just kind of combines itself and it festers right here. And then you go through life and you just keep having all these moments where you felt the same anger, but you're feeling it through this lens, this filter of all these different emotions. And then by the time you get to like my age, I'm shooting 50 this year. By the time you get to my age or your age, we are working with anger that is so diluted by all of these different experiences that it's no longer pure anger. It's not pure in the form that is showing up in today. And so we work through whittling out these pieces, like which of these events, maybe 1, maybe 2, maybe 3, which of these events need to be taken out. And if you know what Jenga is that building block game. You take out one piece of it, it all comes crumbling down. In Jenga, you don't want that, but in this you do. You want that one event that says, this is where you lost so much of your soul. You need to bring that piece back and that piece of power back and heal that so that then you can go through and process all these other angers, and now we're at a clean slate. That just takes that gap to there. And then we start refilling those emotions. We take out those emotions and those events and we really kind of reformulate how we view anger, how we view different situations in our life. And whenever you take something away, you've got to refill it with something. So, okay, all these years that I've been angry at myself, what can I do now to show myself really that beautiful form of self-love? And then we start building that into our equation, into our world. And that takes that gap down just a little bit more. And so we keep whittling down this gap until, and as you start taking out some of these things that are festering in this gap, this life over here is shifting. It's not on stable ground anymore. It's, you got rid of that anger and you really processed through it. So now that shows you, and you pull in that self-love, now you're saying, okay, I want some boundaries. I'm not going to be in a relationship that's going to be with somebody who abuses me. And so this relationship starts to fall away. You open up that space now for a relationship to come in that does meet those boundaries. And that's over here on this side. And so there's this constant shifting happening on these two worlds. You've got this world that's really kind of falling down and around and to pieces and it's crumbling because as you're filling in this gap and you're cleaning it up, this one's starting to be built and built and built and expanded and strengthened, and you're coming into your power. And then you got these last few remnants, and then it all starts to merge. And why I say merge is because we've taken that gap out. This life over here, you had to have this in order to get here, because that is what made you who you are. Those events shaped you, and the only thing you did was in this gap where, in that shaping, instead of actually going through it and really harvesting the beautiful gifts that a divorce or an abusive person has, and that's not to discount the event at all. If you've watched any of my videos, you know I'm not discounting the event. But you go through the event so that you can fully feel and experience it from every direction of the medicine wheel and use it as a building block now in your authentic life. If I am working with somebody and if I've never had a breakup in my life, lost a love of my life, if I had never experienced that, but I had somebody coming to me that was going through that, the only way for me to be authentically present with that person is to tap into that empathy of knowing how that might feel. And so those breakups and all those bad relationships I had in this life helped give me the power to be in this authentic life. Does that make sense? And so what happens is that gap keeps getting wider and wider. So every time you don't go through an event, or you don't really feel it, or you keep perpetuating the same cycle over and over and over in your life, as you throw it into that gap, and that gap gets wider and wider and wider and wider and wider. And as you start cleaning that up, then you start bringing it together. They merge together. These two lives merge together. And this becomes a very powerful tool for you to, one, know what boundaries you need, how to love yourself, how to love others, how to be in relationship, and how to follow your dreams, your gut, your everything, and how to really recognize that what you need, both in body, mind, and spirit, and not being apologetic when you go get it for yourself. I hear this too often, way too often, when somebody says, you know, I'm not going to join you. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I need to take time for myself, or I need to get my hair done, or whatever it might be. It's that I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I have to take care of me. Okay? That doesn't sound right. It says, you know, I'm sorry that I'm so much of a bother. Oh, Eeyore. I love Eeyore. But for us, and for the sake of what I'm teaching here, is we take that apology out of it. And we say, you know what? I would love to join you, but I really need to take time out for me. Period. And so we start to treat ourselves differently. We start to recognize that, wow, I'm really important. I'm really worth it. I am worth the time. I'm worth the love. I'm worth, you know, living a passionate life. I'm worth having the most connected relationships. I'm worth having mind-blowing sex. I'm worth having this deep connection to. I am worth having a wonderful spiritual life. I'm worth having a devoted yoga practice. I'm worth having healthy food and water and play and color and vibrancy. I am worth all of that. All of it. We live in a world that is absolutely teeming of abundance. Absolutely teeming of abundance. There is really no lack in this world. We have a Cloudwalker program, and it's taking our mentorship to the next level. And we work very closely with it's a soul mastermind group, and we work really closely with these people, a small group, and we take them through the process of, you know, the big picture. What is your big picture? What kind of life do you really want to have that you think is unattainable? And they start fleshing that out. And then we keep bringing it down and down and down into actionable steps, and then we help them throughout the year to really obtain this authentic life that we're talking about today. And within the first 5 weeks of the last group that we took through, or are taking through, is they had their big vision up here. And every single person in that group, within 5 weeks, obtained something from that big vision. It just came into their life. And I'd say that because when I say that the world is, the universe is abundant, the world is abundant, I want to be very clear about that. There is no lack in this world for any of us. And when you get into that mentality that, yeah, everything she's saying sounds great, but, and you say, but whatever follows the but is that gap. That's the gap you're creating, or have created. And all of that is just stuff that we work on to get yourself to this authentic life. I also hear from people, yeah, I wish I knew all this when I was 20, but now I am, and they say an age, and it seems like they think that age is, it's past my time. And I only have one question for you. If you are one of those people that says, I'm too old for this, I am too old to change my ways, I am too old to change my beliefs, I am too old to do this, I am too old to do that, if that is your excuse, I have one question, and that is, Are you breathing? Yes? Yes, you are. You are. You're breathing. Okay. There's time. There's time. As long as you're breathing, there is time, and there is necessary time. You know, it's necessary for us to clean up our life in this lifetime. Whether you believe in reincarnation or not, and this has been an interesting discussion with some people, some friends of mine and I, because there's a few that say, I don't know if I believe in reincarnation, and there's others who I absolutely do believe in reincarnation. And so I'm going to give you like a couple of little scenarios here. The ones who do believe in reincarnation, there's the I believe in reincarnation, but I really don't think I'm going to come back again. Okay, so if you're not going to come back, this is it. This is your last life. Then wouldn't you want to go out with a bang? Wouldn't you want to make this like the most epic life ever? Live full on. I mean, hell, you're not going to come back. Let's just really do it upright. You know? Okay, that's one way of looking at it. And I've got people, yeah, I believe in reincarnation, and in my next lifetime, I want to be blah, 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 blah. All right, so you believe in reincarnation, you think you're going to come back into another lifetime, and you want to be this. But I'll tell you what, you don't heal some of the stuff in this lifetime, you're going to carry it over into another lifetime, and you're going to deal with it there, and it may be a little bit more severe. So wouldn't you want to spend this lifetime really getting everything kind of cleaned up and living as authentically as possible? So you're kind of setting the stage for that next direction. Oh boy, water's getting close. I may be moving here in a second. So that's another way of looking at it. You know, what do I want to really do in the next lifetime, and how can I make this lifetime as clean and wonderful as possible so that I set myself up for that? And that's kind of like in that north direction where we look at the next lifetime, or we look at the next day, or we look at the next season and plan out for that. And then I've got the person who doesn't believe in any lifetime or any reincarnation, and this is it. Okay? If this is it, oh boy, don't you want to like really live full on? This is it. That's like going into a candy store and buying like a glass of water. Oh, there's the sea lion out here. So if this is the only lifetime that you get, God bless America, you got to make it the best one ever, because it's all you get. Live vibrantly, suck the juice out of this life. Be in love with every single moment, and do not do anything in your life that does not take you into that place of deep love. I say that, but there are also things like losing my dog, or losing a relationship, or losing a child, or losing a job, that still brings in that deep love. If I didn't lose my dog Harris, I don't know that I would have appreciated the deep love that I had for him, but also to extend that love towards another dog. If I didn't have a deep loss of a relationship, I wouldn't understand how to be in deep love going forward. Does that make sense? So I don't want this to be with rose-colored glasses where you think that everything's got to be perfect and wonderful all the time. The pain and suffering are our greatest teachers in this lifetime. So again, back to the, if this is your only lifetime, don't mess it up. Do not mess it up. Clean up that gap and start living an authentic life. And be unapologetic about it. Because when you do that, when I do this, when I'm out here living my best life ever, I'm giving you permission to do the same thing. And when you do that, you're giving others permission to do the same thing. And so we help each other in that way. I'm hoping that by traveling and seeing all these beautiful places, that in some way I'm inspiring you that the world is beautiful, or that you can do this, or that you can live in the best possible way wherever you are, and no matter what your circumstances. and to also bridge that gap between me and a stranger, you and a stranger, and being willing to talk to people and make that connection. That's living authentically. So I want to end with a couple of things. And one is to give you an example of how I would take a situation to a medicine wheel and look at it. And the other is to share with you a little bit about the mentorship, because in the mentorship, we're working on that gap. That is, in the first level, we're working on that gap. On the second level, we're really tied into making that authentic life solid and bringing all the pieces. Like, gap's been filled, and now it's about externalizing it in the world around us. And so we help you bring that authentic life out and live it externally. So the way that I use the medicine wheel, and I'll give you, I'm going to give you an example of somebody that I've worked with. And who would that be? I don't want to use anybody who don't know who it is. I'm just going to make up something. All right, so somebody is, let's say somebody lost their job. Okay, hold on. Well, this was fun. Okay, I'm going to move here in a second, and then I'll give you my example. Hold on. Okay, well that was exciting. All right, so the example. I'm a little. I didn't get wet. That's good. So the person who's lost their job. Let's go with that one. Actually, let's go with somebody who's in a job that they really, really hate. I think that that may be a lot of you right now. And so you look at the situation when you're taking it to the wheel. You say, okay, I'm in this job that I really don't like. And I'm going to give you the scenario here that what happens when one, and I've kind of done this in the other videos, but we're going to also look at how we can use the directions to kind of bring it back into balance. I've got this job I hate, and it's because my dad was a lawyer, and his dad was a lawyer, and I feel like I have to be a lawyer, so I went into law. And I became this lawyer. I really don't like it. I work with people who, are always angry, or, they're really hurting, or, a number of things. And so that's East energy deficiency. And then they go home, and because they hate their job so much, they tend to take it out on their family, whether it's through a deficient South, and that's showing up disconnected, not really in love with life, things like that. Or they're showing up and they need the people around them to fill that space that the job hasn't felt or filled. And so they've got this excess South energy going on. And let's go with the scenario that they're despondent and they've gone into that deficiency. So they've got a deficiency in the East, and they've got a deficiency now in the South, where they're just really disconnected from life. There's nothing vibrant about them. They hate their job. They come home, they're lackluster. And now let's go over into the West, and they can tend to fall into either an excess West, where they come home, they flip on the TV, they watch the news, and they are immersed in just what's happening in the world, and they're getting really angry. They're watching the political spectrum and what's happening, and the environmental issues, and they think, oh, there's just no hope. It's just, there's no hope. And they lose that sense of hope. And again, that pushes more energy into a deficient East energy, actually, because they're losing that vision, they're losing that hope and those dreams. And then they start to, that hopelessness and that numbness in the relationships, it all starts to manifest itself in addictions to maybe food or to alcohol, or something that further drives that energy into that deficient cell to create that numbing effect again. And then all of that then begins to pull the energy out of the north, and it becomes very deficient in the north. There's this depression that sets in, and they feel really kind of withdrawn from everything, and then they don't really have a strong faith, because why would they? Their life kind of really has taken a back seat. So that's how it would look. Now, if you were sitting in the Wisdom Keeper space and you wanted to change that, and let's just say that, let's put some facts out there. Let's say that the person who we're talking about, they can't just leave their job because they've got kids, they've got bills, they've got a mortgage, they need the paycheck, they need the insurance, and so they can't just, up and leave. And that's what a lot of people assume, because they're like, all of this is caused. If only I had a better job, if only I made X amount of money, if only I could make money doing what I'm passionate about. And they put all these things out there thinking that that is the one change that would change everything. And it might. But for some people, what keeps them stuck is thinking that that is the only thing that will change it. And so they get into this mentality, if I can't change it, then my life will always be this way. So let's just say that I'm in the middle of the wheel and I'm experiencing all of that. And that was my reality. I can't just up and leave my job. And I've got people who are saying, well, if you don't like it, then just quit. Well, or you got the light polarized people who are saying, oh, just go ahead and quit. The universe will supply you with a new job. And yeah, it might, and that's key right there, is that the universe, remember when I said the universe is abundant? The universe is absolutely abundant when you believe that, and when you are not living in nirvana with your head in the sand and thinking that, okay, the universe is going to take care of me, and then you just stand there. That's not going to do it. If I'm sitting in the middle of the medicine wheel, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to look to the east, and I've got this assessment. I don't like my job, but this is my skill set, and I list out all my skills. And these are the possible jobs that I could have that would fit that. That's one way of doing it. What I like to do is I like to look at the other directions first. I like to say, okay, this is what I want. This is the lifestyle I want, and then I find what can match that. So if I can't change my job right now, what I can do is I can go into the south direction, and I can add some more vibrancy to my life. And maybe there is a passion that I have, or a hobby that I love, and I don't know how to make money at it, but I can still carve out some time to do that. And so then I start getting a little bit more fuel in my system from doing something that I love. And that little bit of fuel gives me just enough energy to say, you know what, I don't have to withdraw so much out of the north. But what I do need from the north is I really need to shore up my spiritual life so that I feel that connection. So I might start doing some meditations, which will in turn kind of create a ripple effect through all the directions. I really need to figure out what it is that I believe, and maybe add in some prayer or ritual, ceremony, whatever that might look like for you. And then what I need from the West is, I've been really abusing my body, I've been abusing my mind. I really need to do at least 3 things that are healthy for me. And I start small. I think, okay, in the West, what I'm going to do today is I'm going to do 10 lunges, and I'm going to eat 2 apples, and I'm going to drink a gallon of water. Those are my 3 things. And tomorrow it might be different. It might be, I'm going to take a walk on the beach, and I'm going to write a letter instead of reading the newspaper, and I'm going to assert one boundary. I'm going to say no when I really wanted to say no. And then I might go to the south again, and I'm going to reassess maybe the relationships. What can I do in my relationship that's closest to me, where I can be a little bit more authentic, a little more vulnerable, a little more real? And I'm going to bring that into place, because I really need this person to help support me emotionally and spiritually and mentally if I'm going to start changing my life. and I want them to know what I'm going through. So I'm gonna make 3 goals of what I can do in my relationship to strengthen that, to be authentic, vulnerable, and real, and to show compassionate love. And when you start making tiny changes, even in the relationship, that starts to have also a ripple effect in the directions. Because now, in the north, I feel a little more connected because my partner and I are connected. And in the west, you know, it's like, hey, let's go out on a date, but let's do something really fun, and let's get some really healthy food, or let's go out to dinner and a movie, or something that's going to create some time for us to be together. And then from the east, I'm filling in kind of that spot. It's like I'm feeling a little bit more confident in my life because now I've got a little bit more fuel coming in from the north and the south and even the west. And as you start to bring in fuel from those other areas and you strengthen those other directions, what you've just done is, 1, you've created a smaller gap, but 2, you have now given yourself just a little extra energy to say, you know what, let me really reassess where I'm working and how can I change that. And thinking outside the box, you know, maybe it's talking to my boss and seeing if there's something different I can do in the company that will give me just a little bit of an edge. Maybe it's reframing what I really need. Maybe it is finding and really putting forth the effort of finding another job that has the criteria that would be most beneficial to me or help me even further. And so you keep dancing the wheel. And in that dance, you start to see how everything really synergistically works together and how it all plays together and how you can create that momentum. So your initial thought, I should quit my job, really isn't what you want to do. What you want to do is you want to shore up the other directions and really get some energy coming in from those directions, balancing them out so that when you make this big change, you're not just turning your entire world upside down. So I hope that makes sense. Now, the mentorship that we have with Gaia Wisdom School is a program that goes through each direction and helps you to fix that gap, mind the gap, as my English friends would say. And it's an intensive, deep program. You can go through one session at a time, or you can sign up for the entire year. And what I find, and you'll see some testimonials, if you go to the page, of people that it really has changed their life. It's not that I've changed their life, I have given them the space to be able to learn how to use this medicine wheel to fill in that gap and start living an authentic life and living full out and realizing how powerful and sustaining that they are. So the mentorship, if you come in for a single session, we're focusing on that energy of that direction. So we're getting ready to go into another direction, and that's the direction whose energy we will feel like that energy will be the most prominent energy that we work with. And we will find tools and learn tools that enhance that direction. And then we go to the next direction, we do the same thing again. And by the time you go full circle, I guarantee you, your life will be completely different. And we have people who take the energy assessment test at the very beginning and also at the very end, so they can actually see those percentages shift within the excess and deficiency areas of the medicine wheel. It's really, really powerful. I would say that out of all the programs that I have created over the years, this is the one that I feel with 100% confidence that is the most powerful thing out there. And it's not just because of the work that I put into the program, but it's the community of people that come and do this together. And we are mirrors for each other, we work with each other, and to have a group where you can come and talk about these kinds of things and not be crazy or seen as crazy is really huge. So the mentorship, in my mind, is just, it's extremely powerful. You've really got to be ready to change your life. If you're not ready to change your life, don't even put it on your radar yet. But there will be a time, and that's what I find with most people. They'll be like, I've been watching you for years, and now I'm here. It's one of the reasons I don't sell gift certificates. This is sidetrack. I don't sell gift certificates for my work ever, because if you give somebody a gift certificate, what you're basically saying to something like this is you need fixed. And the person who's getting that is like, hell no, I'm not ready for that. I don't need that. And then 5 years down the road, they're like, hey, I got this gift certificate. That really would have been handy now. So anyway, I digress. But the medicine wheel and the mentorship, hand in hand, it's such a powerful tool. I can't even imagine living my life without that framework now. And it really has helped me also in my relationships, because I can see and tell if somebody is a visionary or a soul shaman or an alchemist, and I don't have to get mad at them because they're not expressing, something the same way I would. They're expressing it in the way that their soul archetype would. It gives you a really great understanding of people and where they're coming from, and helps to kind of make that humanity a little bit more real. So anyway, I would love, love, love to work with you and journey with you in the mentorship. If you feel that that is something that you're ready for, you're never too young, you're never too old. I have people who come in who have been doing spiritual work for 20, 30 years like I have, and still are able to really get to a different level. And then I have people who come in who have never ever done any kind of spiritual practice ever. They don't even, I had a couple people come in about a year ago who knew nothing about spirituality, didn't even really know anything about shamanism or what that really meant, had no idea what druidry was, but came in just on a whim, and now is here a year and a session later, and with a life that has really gone 360. So it doesn't matter where you are on that spectrum. What matters is that gap in between what you're living now and what you could be living in that authentic, beautiful, passionate life that is inside of you. So in the next video, actually there's, down below there's a link. And that will take you to the page that describes everything that we're going to do in this next session. And there'll be another video there, and I'll talk a little bit more about what actually is entailed in the mentorship. If you're not going to click on that link, then what I hope you take from these 3 videos is at least something to kind of frame out and help you become a little bit more aware of how to view the world through the eyes of the medicine wheel. And join our Facebook group and get connected there. And but I hope to see you over in the other video and in the mentorship, because it's a beautiful, powerful group, and it's not for everybody, but it is an extremely transformative program. So I look forward to hearing you guys. Please also put down below in your comments what are your takeaways from these 3 videos? What's the small little piece out of your gap that you can change with the information that you've learned here? Thanks, guys, and I see a rock. I see a lot of rocks. I need to find a dry rock that has my name on it. Bye, guys.